Good morning, Need family. How you guys doing? We're going to continue trying to get this all set up and running the proper way that it should. We are getting things underway. Probably not this week because obviously Christmas is coming up, but the week after, I think we're going to start looking at doing the soundboard and all that other fun stuff. Try to get the video camera up and running properly. Sound for the video camera up and running properly, pretty much everything up and running properly. So we're going to have a busy new year, which is good. Change is good. Change is always good. Moving forward, not being stuck in the past and going towards something new. A lot of people don't or have a hard time with change, but I just ask that you just kind of roll with us, and then we're going to continue going towards something greater. I'm going to start off with Matthew chapter 2. So after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of the King Herod, wise men from the east arrived unexpectedly in Jerusalem, saying, "Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star in the east and have come to worship him." This is going to be a little bit lengthy. We're going to go up to 15, just give you a heads up. When King Herod heard this, he was deeply disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. So he assembled all the chief priests and scribes of the people and asked them where the Messiah would be born. In Bethlehem of Judea, they told him, because this is what was written by the prophet. "And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judea, are by no means least among the leaders of Judea. Because of you, you will come a leader who will shepherd my people, Israel." Then Herod secretly summons the wise men and asked them the exact time the star appeared. He sent them to the Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child. When you find him, report back to me, so that I too can go and worship him." After hearing the king, they went on their way, and there was the star that they had seen in the east. It led them until it came and stopped above the place where the child was. When they saw the star, there was an overjoyed beyond measure. Entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and falling to their knees, they worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And being warned in a dream to go back to Herod, they returned to their own country by another route. After they were gone, an angel of the Lord suddenly appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, "Get up, take the child and his mother, flee to Egypt, and stay there until I tell you. For Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him." So he got up and took the child and his mother in the night to escape to Egypt, and stayed there until Herod's death, so that what was spoken by the Lord through the prophet might be fulfilled. "Out of Egypt I called my son." Precious Heavenly Father, we thank you, dear Lord. We thank you for this time of fellowship, this time of worship, this time to come together to learn more about you. I pray today, Lord, that as I come forth with your message, that you just hide me behind the cross, Lord God. Allow every single word that comes out of me just be from you, and allow every single word that is of me just be cast aside, Lord God. Allow us to hear your voice today. Allow us to have the minds to retain it and understand it, Lord. I pray that you just move through. And as we come together for this time of season, that we understand and we realize that the reason for this place, this Christmas time, it's not about, all the lavish gifts, all the things and everything that's going on. It's about you, Lord God. Allow us to focus our minds onto you, the real reason for this season. I know we say it all the time, and it's kind of come up as a cliche, the reason for the season, but allow us to actually really pinpoint the fact in the matter of why we say the reason for the season. Allow it not just to be a catch-up phrase to just fall loosely on our lips. Allow us to focus onto you. And we pray this in your precious holy name. Amen. Now at Christmas time, I know the joyful car rides that we have and doing a lot of car rides. And with Christmas, you go into Walmart, you go into any type of store, cars, that's all you hear is Christmas music. It's getting overplayed. I don't know how many times you can hear Alvin and the Chipmunks sing that song.
As long as it's playing.
Right. Smart.
Please help me. So anyways, we get caught up in these songs. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Having Holly Jolly Christmas, chestnuts roasting up in fire, jingle bells, walking in Wonderland. All communicate that Christmas time is a time to be joyous, trouble-free season. When you look at movies like It's a Wonderful Life, that movie was ancient and is still played today numerous times. A Christmas Story, where you can turn on the TV and it's playing 24/7, 365 days, well, a month, but it feels like 365 days. But let me ask you honestly, is that what you are expecting this season? Probably not. For some of you, personal problems are keeping you from experiencing the joy of the season. For others, you feel crisis after another, one after another. It's just an avalanche of problems. It's hard to be jolly this Christmas. You look at it as one serious event after another. 2020 has become a season or a year of just problematic situations, one after another. And it doesn't seem like it's getting any better. I know when 2020 started out, when it first started out way back, we're going to shut down the country for 2 weeks. And once the 2 weeks are done, life is normal. Life is great.
That's what we hope.
That's what we hoped. It was supposed to be just a quick 2 weeks, and I'm telling you one thing, if we all can look back when this whole COVID thing first started out, we were living in Springfield, Vermont, and it was to the point where I didn't take my family out for 2 weeks. I locked them up in the house pretty much. Not in a bad way. Let me rephrase that. Not in a bad way.
Hostage.
Held them hostage for 2 weeks in their house. No, I did that out of care, respect, and love for my family. Because you go into, when back in Springfield, they only had one store, Shaw's. And you go into Shaw's, and it was destroyed. It was just wiped out. There was no food on the shelf. There was no bread, no milk, no pasta, no nothing. It was scary to see. It was, if you look back at like the movies Apocalypse Now, 2021, or End of the World stuff, you look at that, you go into Shaw's and you see all that stuff and it scares you. And it brings into reality, is this what our life is supposed to be now? So that's why unfortunately, I told my family they're not to go out, because I want to, in a sense, shelter them, protect them. And I know for a fact that my eldest, she wanted to, get out of the house. So I told her, I'm like, it's not good. It's gonna really mess with your brain to see the way people act, the way people do, the way people shop. I took her out and she was scared. She was legitimately frightened by what she saw. And it shook her. I'm saying this because we lost the joy. And that was supposed to be a 2-week span. And we're now talking 6, 7, 8 months later. We're still fighting this. We have now sat there and taken away the joy of going Christmas shopping. Going to the stores and actually looking for toys for your kids. We took away that joy. We went to Manchester last night. We hit 4 stores in 1 hour, record-breaking time right there.
Good job.
Okay, it was just go, and it was very stressful to see the people with the lack thereof joy. It was very stressful to even try to say hi to somebody, because everybody's just stuck in their own ways. So, some of you are so busy working on stuff that there is no time for sitting around the fire, if you have a fire. Or maybe there is nothing going There is everything that's going wrong. For some reason, you are just enjoying Christmas. It is not providing the emotional life that you expect, and in fact is almost depressing. The world does not look like a winter wonderland, although that snow shows otherwise. We got what, 3 feet almost out there? Disillusionment at Christmas is not an unusual thing. We get so hyped up with the expectations about what Christmas is supposed to be that we often forget about the real thing that doesn't measure up, and we are disappointed. Now we look at stuff like kids want a PS5. They want the new Xbox. They want all the glitz and glamour. I know way back in 2008, the biggest toy back then was the Tickle Me Elmo. And the iPod Touch, if I remember right. I worked at Target at that time. That was the funnest time of my life.
We're getting a Target, you know that?
I know,
Yeah.
I can't wait. But we sat there at Christmas time, Sierra and I, we were working at Target at Black Friday shopping. I actually literally had to stop 3 fights, intervene in 3 fights over Tickle Me Elmo. Go figure that out, okay? But the expectation of that Tickle Me Elmo being underneath that Christmas tree, being underneath that tree for the child. There was a movie called Jingle All the Way. I don't know if you remember seeing that, but that was with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was going to go out, and he had to find this last toy. It was an action figure. They're not toys; they are action figures. Okay, they're different. I will let you know that. Watch the movie Small Soldiers. I'm getting sidetracked, but I gotta let you know they're action figures. But the fact is that the joy that the little boy wanted, that the father did whatever it took to get that little action figure. Same thing that these people were doing to get Tickle Me Elmo. PS5. People are spending boatloads of money for a PS5. It is obscene on how much they're spending. But it's all false, honestly. Because we can sit there and we can drain our bank account. We can drain everything that is going on in lives. We can sit there and say, okay, we're going to get a second mortgage just so I can put trees, presents underneath the Christmas tree for my child. But we're missing the real fact. We can sit there and say, okay, well, how about this is the best one. It's almost like a game with family members. So last year, Becky decided to sit there and buy me this lavish gift, so now I gotta outdo her this year. And then it turns into a game of who can outdo what. And it turns into a game of saying, well, geez, you got me a good gift, so in order for me to give you a good gift, I can't just give you something small, I gotta give you something greater. Are we missing the fact, the real meaning of what Christmas is about? Are we missing out what the real meaning of what Christmas is? It's not about the toys, it's not about the gifts, it's not really about how many places or how many plates of food you can eat at each person's house before you get so engorged in turkey and ham and pork pie and pecan tassies, and I'm hungry.
Apparently.
It's not about that stuff. It's more about finding out the real meaning of Christmas. Now the thing is, what can you do to this Christmas to avoid disillusionment? How can you improve your level of joy this Christmas? The answer is found in the story of the Magi in Matthew 2. Magi, wise men from the east, saw a star that indicated the birth of a new king in Israel, wanting to honor him with gifts. They set out on a journey following the stars to find this newborn king. From the attitudes of these wise men and the events that surround this journey, we can see how we can rise our level of joy at Christmas. What do you seek? Your level of joy at Christmas is directly related to what you seek. Ask the question, what is it I want to get out of Christmas? What is it that would make your Christmas wonderful and satisfying? Would it be snow? All the family gathered together in happiness? COVID gone? Be able to sit there and not wear your mask? This is going to hit hard, but I can tell you one thing. What does it seek? I know Sierra seeks that for her to see her grandmother in the nursing home. The question was asked at one time by somebody on Facebook, if COVID were to end tomorrow, what would you want to do? People's responses: take off the face masks, hug somebody, love somebody that you haven't loved in a long time. Sierra's response was simple: to hold her grandmother in. It hit hard, but it's true. This COVID has come into a spot. What do we seek? What is it that we're seeking? What are we looking after? A feeling is defined as a holiday spirit, finding the right present to give, getting the present you have been hoping for. The problem with all these is that they can leave us disappointed. Have you ever had that kind of experience when you were disappointed by Christmas because it is not what it delivered you thought it would be? The problem is not Christmas, it is our expectations, what we are looking for the wrong thing. Katie, you want to open a present? I get you a present, come here. It's heavy. Someone's gonna put it over here. Okay, come on. Keep you out of the thing. The present for you. What do you get? Nothing. So, that's cruel. But the fact is that she sat there and she was expecting something. You were expecting a cool toy, weren't you? When I said it was heavy, you're thinking that probably, oh boy, this is awesome, what am I going to get? But as soon as she opened it up, as soon as she opened up the present, what did she get? False hope, false expectations. You can sit down. You can sit down here.
Hopefully you'll give her something nice for Christmas.
Hopefully we will.
After that.
After that. But how many times, as even adults, we have these expectations, these thoughts that things are going to be better, but when we open it up, it's like a piñata. We hit it so hard, we hit everything going on, and when we finally break the piñata open, there's nothing in it. It's empty. It's hard, but it's true. Our expectations are so great that we're missing out on the true point. Yeah, the box may have been empty, but guess what? I still thought of her.
This is true.
Think about it like that. Yeah, it may have been empty, but my brain thought still, hey, I don't have much. I don't have really anything. What I have is an empty gift. But that empty gift is probably not empty, because it still took me time to sit there and wrap that box and to sit there and to think of her. There's a thought process there. Sometimes it's not what's in the box, but it's what's in the box. I want you to dissect that just a little bit in your mind. It's not what's inside the box, but it's what's inside. The Magi show us how to increase our level of joy at Christmas by looking for the right thing. What is it that we are looking for? Verse 2 tells us, they came to Jerusalem and said, where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we have seen him, his star in the east, and come to worship him. They were looking for Jesus. Christmas for them was an opportunity to worship Jesus. That is what we need to be looking for and expecting this Christmas. An experience of worship, a fresh glimpse of who he was, born King of the Jews. If our goal this Christmas is to worship Jesus, then I doubt, very seriously, we will be dissatisfied with our experience. Now, if she sat there expecting Jesus in that box, I'm guaranteeing that she would have opened up Jesus in that box, even though that box was empty. Because she was there to worship him. Because as we know, that Jesus is not going to walk through these doors right now and sit right next to you as a human being right now. But we are to expect him. in our minds. Number 2, where do we look? Your level of joy at Christmas is directly related to where you look. We learn from the Magi that there are wrong and right places to look for Christmas. They started by looking in the wrong place. They looked where their own human reasoning said they should look. The star indicated the birth of the new king in Israel. The Magi went where kings should be born, to the place of Herod the Great in the capital city of Jerusalem. But what a mistake that was when Herod heard of the birth of a new king. He jealously sought to destroy him. We too are tempted to look for joy at Christmas in the wrong places. We think by getting our given the right gift, we will be satisfied. Sometimes we feel like we don't give enough. It's not always about Christmas. It's not always about gifts. It's not always about everything else. But we're looking at the wrong thing. Far too often, I use it always as in this description. I've left my wallet somewhere. Somebody has money somewhere. But the fact of the matter is that the illustration is where are you looking? What are you looking at? Because far too often we're sitting and we're distracted by this. And I know this is the Bible, but I want you to think about something else in your mind. I want you to think about what you've always wanted. And I'm going to pick on Sierra because she's not here. But Sierra, what she always wanted when she was a kid was one of those hopscotch things. You put on your ankle and you just sit there and you jump over the ball. Okay? Sierra's gift that she always wanted, when she was a kid, was that little hopscotch. It wasn't until she was just about 20 years old that she received a generic version of it by somebody that gave her the wrong gift. And that was me. It wasn't the one because it didn't have the count on it.
It was a skip it.
Skip it.
Skip it.
Okay. It was a skip it. So the fact is that she was always looking for that one gift, but she was distracted by that one gift. We get so distracted by that one thing in our lives that we need to sit there and reevaluate and look at what we're really looking at. I'm going to pick on PS5 because that's the newest, biggest, hottest selling ticket right now. This is your PS5 that everybody wants. And everybody's going to buy it for them. And everybody's going to spend their last dollar for it. That these kids are selfishly looking towards something that's not really there. Because honestly, what's going to happen within the next year or two, that PS5 is going to turn into a PS6, right? And that joy of that PS5 is now going to be kicked to the wayside because now it's no longer the fresh and cool thing. Right? The Tickle Me Elmo, the thing that's going on, like I told you back in 2008, the Tickle Me Elmo, where is it now? Where is that joy now? Because now it's just on the thrift store, you can buy it for $0.25. Probably dead batteries that don't even work no more. You try to tickle it and it just sits there and says, no, not today. Tickled out. But all these lavish gifts, all these things are sitting there, are just, well, let's just call it an emotion. Brand new car. Everybody's sitting there watching and looking at all the employees when you go to a new place. Wow, I wish I had a new car. I know Thursday when I was stuck at my work for over 2 hours trying to get up a hill that I could not get up in my little red car, angrily watching everybody in the trucks just drive right up the hill. I'm like, yep. Guess I'm stuck here for the day. Wow, I wish I had a new truck so I could get up a hill, so I can go home to my family. My thought process was wrong. Because guess what? In the midst of everything that was going on, when I was thinking, man, I wish I had all these lavish gifts, I wish I had a brand new vehicle, God sat there and said, you know what, it's not your time. Right now, what you need to do is sit there and focus on me. Stop trying to get out of that snow by yourself. Why don't you focus on me? And I'm telling you one thing, it took me, and I'll be honest, I'm being transparent with you, it took me 2 hours to sit there and be like, you know what, you're right. Just get me home, Lord. Wouldn't you believe it, after I said that, I started getting out of that little predicament, and I got up the hill. Go figure that out. 20-minute drive took me 2.5 hours to get home. Had a nice long talk with God that day. But the fact of the matter is that my eyes were so focused, my emotions were so focused on something that I did not need. That God already provided what I needed at that moment. And our emotions are fleeting. But the gift that God has given us, the gift that God has given us on that night when Jesus was born, when he gave up everything and said, you are going to become a man and you are going to die on that cross. The joy, the stuff that's going on, oh man, here it comes. I'm telling you one thing, the joy that's going on with Jesus when he was born, it's not an emotion that fleets. It's never ever going to end. Because when you have Jesus as your Father, as you have Jesus in your heart, as you have Jesus as the one that died for you, you sit there and you remember that the joy is never ending. The joy will continue to go through the heartache. The joy will continue to go through the trouble, the trials, the COVID, the situations that are going on, because you will cast everything aside and you will remember that the reason for this season is joy, and that is Jesus Christ, who was born a man to save. And that is not an emotion that will ever leave, because it is an emotion, it is a way of life, it is a thought process that God had died for you, and that joy to sit there and open up that box and see that God has given you joy. It is an amazing thing that we can sit there and we can know for shadow of doubt that when we wake up Christmas morning, yeah, we may not have everything that we ever wanted, that we're going to have dreams and expectations that were never met. But guess what? Our dreams and expectations should be up to there. It really should be. Yes, and I'm not diminishing Christmas, I'm not diminishing presents, but we got to focus on what is the truth and the real reason why Christmas is Christmas. Stop looking at Hallmark movies. Stop looking at TVs that are showing you all the fads, all the coolest things. Because guess what? A brand new car, you're paying $600 a month for a brand new vehicle. And guess what? That $600 a month is going to sit there, and next you know it's going to be dead within a couple of years. Because they don't make them to last. They make them so that you have to buy another one, and then you got to sit there and pay all the bills to fix it. Am I speaking truth here? But we got to focus on what the real joy of Christmas is. The third thing, what to give. What do you give? Your level of joy at Christmas is directly related to what you give. The Magi came to Jesus' house bearing gifts. The gifts they gave were entirely appropriate. They gave gold, gifts for a king. By giving it, they acknowledged that Jesus was the king. They gave frankincense, a gift for a priest. This was the incense the priests used in temples. By giving it, they acknowledged that Jesus was a priest, the one who would bring us to God. They gave myrrh, a gift for the dead. This was a fragrant ointment used to anoint a body before burial. By giving it, they acknowledged that Jesus had come to die for the sins of the world. Do we understand that? That every single thing that they gave was an intentional gift. We ought to give appropriate gifts this Christmas as well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about mere material gifts. I'm talking about more important things. We ought to give the gift of our love and kindness to our friends and family. We ought to give the gift of helping out those who are hurting. We ought to give the gift of forgiveness. That's a hard one right there. Give the gift of forgiveness. If you have somebody in your life, somebody that has wronged you, you know what? Why don't this Christmas, why don't you start off the new year with a gift of forgiveness? Forgive somebody that had hurt you in the past. And if you can't talk to that person because that person has sat there and hurt you so bad that you kind of have a hard time talking to them, first thing, go to God. Seek forgiveness for yourself. God will make a way to forgive somebody else. And sometimes you don't even know that this person is angry with you. We gotta sit there and stop and think and wonder. That old saying back a couple of years, WWJD, what would Jesus do? Still rings true. What would he do? What would he give? And I'm telling you one thing, if the gift, and I talk about it all the time, the gift that God gave me was not a beautiful wife, not 3 amazing kids, and the 4th up in Maine. Those are not the gifts that he gave me. He gave me the greatest gift of everything, that is salvation. He gave me the greatest gift. And then next you know, that gift was just one of those things that just kept on going with family, loved ones, and healing, and repentance. But the greatest gift that God gave me was salvation. The greatest gift that night that I sat there and I repented on the ground and I said, God, if you are really going to take this off my breath right now, that day that I sat there and he gave me the forgiveness and he sat there and he gave me the joy and he gave me the fruits of the Spirit that day to sit there and live a life of joy. And not sit there and look back at all the hatred that I had and all the hurt that I had. He wiped that all away. And he gave me that gift. And who am I not to give that gift to somebody else?
Amen.
Who am I to sit there and hold on to that gift and not sit there and say, hey, buddy, I got a gift for you. Here you go. Merry Christmas. There's salvation for you. There is a king who died on the cross for you. There is a gift that is everlasting, that is eternal, that will never stop. The joy that will go through all your history and your life. And you sit there and you say, wow, I was once and now I am who? That's a gift that cannot stop. That is probably the greatest gift that you can give somebody. And you know how much it costs? It costs $0. It costs nothing. To call up your friend and say, hey, listen, the life that you're living, the life that you're leading, the life that you're going down is not a good life. This is a time of the season where you got to sit there and you got to find out who God is. I want to show you what joy is. When I walk into the store, when I sit there and people sit there and say, man, there's something different about you. Yeah, it's because I got Jesus in me. Now let me show you who he is. It's a free gift. You're holding on to it. You're holding on to something that is far more valuable than gold. Something that's far more valuable than frankincense. Far more valuable than myrrh. You look at the woman that sat there and poured out all her oil onto Jesus. All that money that she poured out because she knew that there was joy. That was worth more than anything else. That's the joy that we have as Christians. When we sit there and we played that song earlier while you were sleeping, we can sit there and know without a shadow of doubt our feet should not be planted on the ground. Our feet should not be sitting there being like, okay, yep, worship is here. We should be like the Magi. We should be going. We should be jumping up and down for joy. We should be Pentecostal. We should be having joy, unexpected joy that it flows to somebody else. That these doors, they should not be closed. They should not be closed. The doors should be open and people can hear it out there. And then the people over in the trailer park are saying, what is going on over there? Maybe we should come over and find out what is going on. They seem a little crazy, but I'm crazy too. Because I can be crazy like the rest of them. And that's a good thing. Because I'm a peculiar person, and I want to show somebody that's peculiar what real peculiar is. That is the gift of Christmas. That is the great gift that honestly, God gave us. The birth of Jesus. So as we roll into this time of this season, as we roll into, Thursday is Christmas Eve, Friday is coming up, And we are sitting there counting down our advent calendars and taking out our candies, and then we're eating them day by day. Can't even. Loving candy. The fact is that every single day that we're counting down is every day that we should be on our hands and knees praying to God. Every day that we should take account of the joy of who God is. As these magi sat there and traveled, what did they seek for? What did they look for? What did they give? What is it that you're seeking for? What is it that you're looking for? What is it that you want to give this Christmas season? Because I can tell you one thing, just looking around these seats, kind of hard to see all these empty seats here. When we know these seats should be filled by previous people that used to come to these churches, by previous people that have been hurt by the church. Not just this church, I'm talking the church in general. People that have been hurt. Honestly, we should be giving the gift to our loved ones. Bringing them in, find out who God is. Because that's a gift of joy. Like I said, you guys, and there's joy right there. There's joy right there. Sound of joy. 3 o'clock in the morning. But no, honestly speaking, that is joy. Hearing her cry like that, hearing the scream, that is joy.
She's alive.
She's alive. And the mother that gave birth to her is alive.
Amen.
That's a gift. Yeah, she can be in pain, she can scream, she can cry, but guess what? That's joy. Because anytime that sit there, and this is a sidetrack, but guess what? Anytime that she cries like that, and people hear it in the stores, it brings joy to other people because they have not heard that before in a long time. You go to a nursing home, and this is a rabbit trail, but I'm going to tell you about this, and this is actually needs to be said. You go to a nursing home before COVID. Do you understand and realize how much an elderly person would love to hold a child? So guess what? Those screaming kids that you see in the restaurants or in the retail stores, count that joy that they have a voice to speak. Don't sit there and cast down thoughts, cast down words, cast down anything when you see those kids. Why don't you sit there and lift up the parents and say you're doing a good job? You're doing the best you can. I know, and I'm going to tell you this, when I was a youth pastor in Springfield, we had a family. I'm not talking 1 or 2, I'm talking a family of autistic kids. But 5 or 6, right? 5 kids with autism. I'm talking high, strong autism. Kid first came running through the door, waved. The first thing the kid did was jumped up on a table. Mother sitting there, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. I'm like, sorry about it. It's a table. Come here, son. Let's go. Got out the table. The parents looked, expecting me to cast down judgment on their kids. I just took the kid under my wing. Come on. Let's go play. The gift that I gave not only that parent, but that child changed their outlook on life. Because you cannot sit there and cast down judgment on somebody. Doing the best you can. You're doing a great job. I'm proud of you. Keep up the good work. And it would just be so funny that coming to find out years later, I realized those 5 kids have instilled into me something. I'm sharing this with you, transparency, have instilled something to me. I didn't realize what God was sitting there putting all these autistic kids, because it wasn't just 5 kids, it was 5 kids, and then 2 more came, and then 2 more came, until the whole room was filled with autistic kids. And I realized later on that God was preparing my heart and preparing my ways to realize that my son, who's up in Maine, has autism. Go figure that out. God was sitting there saying, okay, we're going to put this stuff, so that way when you see your son, when I give the gift of your son back to you, you're going to know how to handle it. A little bit of transparency, I don't know where that came from, but somebody needs to know that. Somebody needs to hear that. That God's going to work through, God's going to sit there and help you through. That God's going to sit there and put things in your life. Seriously, somebody needs to hear this. Sometimes somebody is going to be put into your life. Something is going to happen to you. Something is going to come through you. But it's a preparation, a stepping stone for what's going to happen in the future. What's going to happen is God is going to sit there and train you on how to handle it. So when you're faced with those circumstances, count it joy. And take every single aspect, every single emotion, every single thought, every single minute of that situation, learn off of it. Because you are going to be trained for something greater. So anyways, with that being said, somebody need to hear that. God just, so anyways, gift of Christmas. We're going to close out with tithes and offering. David, if you don't mind, can you close us out?
Lord God, thank you for your many gifts. All good gifts come from you, both tangible and intangible. Lord, you've given us material gifts for us to receive with joy and thanksgiving. But it is the intangible gifts that are truly priceless, such as joy, forgiveness, salvation, and your own well-beloved Son. We thank you for this time here today and for this message, and just for us to be in each other's presence. We ask that you bless us during this coming week. Bless us, make us mindful of our loved ones, and you just bless the holidays in Jesus' name.
Thank you, E-Family, for joining in. You guys have a Merry Christmas. Hope to hear from you guys. And you guys have a blessed day. Talk to you later. Bye.